So we're back in our geometric logo worksheet. And again, we're going to click on layers and make sure that we have all of our different logo layers open here, including templates at the bottom, which we can hide to show us that there's not actually any vector artwork there. And let's work on the Adidas logo. So I'm going to zoom in on that. And if we think about what Adidas logo is made of, it's really just rectangles, but they're on a bit of an angle and they got some parts missing. So let's make sure we're on our Adidas layer and let's grab our rectangle tool. And like anytime we want to trace over top of something, we want to make sure that our default colors are there, but we don't need that white fill. So we'll click there to get rid of it. And we want to draw some rectangles. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a rectangle. Nothing super specific, kind of like that. And because the Adidas logo has rotated rectangles, we're going to click on our black selection tool. And if we hover just above the top right corner, you can do it on any of the corners, we see we have that curved arrows cursor. That's going to let us rotate it. So if I click and hold, I can then start dragging it around and rotating it. And you'll see that it shows you the exact number of angles that you're rotating as you do it. And it looks like we want to be at about 30 degrees there. And you can see it lines up with the edges right there. So now that I have that, I want to start with the biggest rectangle first. So we'll drag it into place in the top right corner of that rectangle. And then we'll use the tool here on the side to grab that side and make it the size that we need. Now, obviously, there's no rectangle down here. We want to make sure that with this handle, we don't leave it so that we're going to miss this point. We want it to go down below. And it can be as long or as short as you want, as long as it goes down below that edge there. Now that we have the first one drawn, we can use our arrow and move it to where the second one is. And as we know, if we hold down that Alt button, it creates a copy of it. So you'll see now that the original one is left there and the cursor has turned into that black and white arrow, which means we're making a copy of the original. So we'll drag it into the right position there and let go of the mouse cursor. And it leaves the original and creates a new copy of it where we moved it to. So because the spacing between these two rectangles is the same as between these two rectangles, after we've moved and copied this version, we can do a Control D to duplicate that last move. And it's going to put the new one down here. And we just want to tweak it to make sure it's in the exact correct position, like so. Okay, so now we've got our three rectangles and you're thinking, well, Mr. Roberts, that's not right. We have all this weird stuff going on down here. And that's where we're going to use some of our tools to help us correct that. So we want to make sure our Pathfinder window is open. And I'm just going to drag it up into here for now. So it's kind of out of the way when we don't need it. And we're going to use our shape modes like you've already learned about in your advanced shapes tutorial. And we're going to create another rectangle at the bottom that covers up all those parts of that rectangle that we don't want. Okay, so it can be any size you want, as long as you don't miss a spot like that. We want to make sure it covers all of them. Okay, now what we can do is we can create some copies of this rectangle. So I will click on it and I will do Control C, or I could do Edit and Copy. And now we want to paste it in place. So we can do Paste in Front or Control F. That now means that there's two of those rectangles there. And we actually want three. So I'm going to hit Control F one more time, or you could go Edit, Paste in Front again. Now we know we have three of the exact same rectangles here, one for each of these different rectangles. We're going to click on one of these rectangles. We're going to shift click on one of these rectangles so that we have both selected. And we're going to use our shape modes in the Pathfinder's window. And we're going to click on this icon here, which is going to get rid of the parts where they are overlapping. So now you'll see that that shape doesn't have that spot that we didn't want anymore. And now we need to do the same thing with both of the other rectangles. So I will click on this rectangle. I will shift click over here. I'm going to use this tool again to do that one. And then last but not least, I'll click on these two rectangles with shift and use that again. So now we have the shapes that we want. We can click and drag and draw a box around here to select all three. We want to switch the colors so that it is a black fill instead of a black stroke, just like the Adidas logo. And we want to group those together, so we can go Object and Group, or Control G. And now we know that when we click on any one of these, we're clicking on all three. If we move anyone, we move all three. So we've got our grouped Adidas logo on our Adidas layer.